Very relevant.
Very relevant.
Of course I was going to go with a relevant one. I'm not going to pull out a card if it isn't relevant. Welcome to Worse Than the Borg, the Star Trek podcast for everyone. Each week, we unpack new episodes of Star Trek with Star Trek fans new and old. We also showcase and raise funds for causes near and dear to us in the name of solidarity, reconciliation, and justice. I'm Captain Shane Holland. I am here always with my number one, Ron Sly. Hey, Ron.
Good morning, Captain. Afternoon.
And our chief engineer, Ravi Joshi. How are you, Ravi?
Hi, Shane. I'm doing well.
We are recording at the right time of day, the right time of the week. I am still experiencing technical difficulties, but we are here with a very special guest. This week, I'm welcoming Ambassador Kadeem Griffiths. Welcome, Kadeem.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here. Collectively, we are worse than the Borg. Ron, would you please lead us off with our commitment to reconciliation?
Absolutely, Captain. This mission log is being recorded on Treaty 13 land, and the participants are committed to reconciliation here on Earth. We believe the United Federation of Planets would fully support the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People. All tuned-in Terrans are encouraged to participate in the direct action discussed later in this log.
Awesome. Thank you, Ron. And I'm going to start off the way we always do. Kadeem, what is your history with Star Trek? Are you a longtime fan? Is Discovery your introduction? Was this episode your introduction? Tell us a little bit about it.
So Discovery is my introduction, actually. I never watched any Star Trek series before this, but I do have a fun story. So I grew up in, my mom was very Christian growing up, still is, but very like Bible thumping in my childhood. And at the heaviest time of this, I wasn't allowed. Well, it was like half and half. Like it was, not encouraged to watch anything that had like too much romance or like too much like witchcraft and wizardry and all that. So it was like I could read Harry Potter, but I wasn't supposed to. I couldn't watch like Buffy or Charmed or anything like that. And my mom really kind of cut down her media diet as well in that time. But the one show that she watched was The Next Generation, because in her mind, it was the only clean show on television. So I remember this happening for years. It could have just been a couple of months because childhood memories are they feel much longer than they actually are. But she only watched HGTV and Star Trek: The Next Generation for years in my mind. Years.
So you probably absorbed some of it just through osmosis.
and I know, being black, I know that who is black that was in Star Trek that. That's also how I know Star Trek.
That's culture, of course.
So I'm new to the Trek. I actually just binged all of Discovery within the last 8 weeks. So
wow.
Well done.
That's so fantastic. Yes.
I can't wait to hear what you think of it. I mean, you binged through, so I'm assuming we've got some positive things to say, but
I hope.
I'm curious.
I mean, we can talk about that right now, actually. I kind of want to know, do you enjoy Discovery? Has this 8 weeks been torture? Has it been a mix?
So I actually really love it.
Yay!
I am not a sci-fi person. I watch a lot more spy-fi. My favorite shows growing up are Alias, or the CW reboot of Nikita from a few years ago, which is terrible now. I tried to watch it in quarantine. It's really bad, but I loved it at the time. So spy sci-fi love, but I never watched hard sci-fi. So this was really fun. And I'm a big TV watcher, so I like to watch things and think about the writing and that sort of thing. And the show does a lot of things that I really like in that, and I think it's a benefit of binging as well, that I watch something and I'm oh, that's really cool that happened. I hope that comes up later, and it always comes up. Everything pays off. It's everything is set up, and then 4 or 5 episodes, and then all those dominoes get knocked down, and then maybe another domino comes back and gets knocked down a lot later. So it's really fun. It's really rewarding to watch, because I feel my brain, the reward centers of my brain are just going off constantly, because it's yes, I love that. like I thought about that and it happened, and I thought about this and it happened. It's probably just a benefit of like probably the writers are likely fans of the show from before, so they know what like sci-fi watchers want.
Yes. 100%. And there is a lot of fandom thrown into every episode. We talk a little bit about some of the stuff that's hidden in each episode. This one in particular, we'll get there. Let's divert a little bit and talk about some Star Trek news. I only have one little piece of news myself this week. According to giantfreakinrobot.com, Discovery, Picard, and Lower Decks are all heading to Netflix, at least in the US, because CBS All Access has you in the US you can only watch behind this paywall, so of course they have no subscribers, meaning that the shows aren't actually getting a lot of viewership. So this is great news. This means that, you know, Star Trek might actually stick around for longer than it could have. But does anyone else have any news? Ravi?
Well, I have one that is sort of, I say with a bit of mixed feelings, but because it's Trump Pence kind of news. So with that warning, Space Force, the Space Force, I should say also, it's kind of a militaristic news. Like, it's not exactly what I wanted, but there's some interesting parts of this. So the Space Force that was announced a couple of years ago that Trump was launching as a military, parallel to the Navy and the Army, received its logo and sort of titling what the members of the Space Force would be called. So the members will be called Guardians. So you will be a guardian of the Space Force. But just as notable, they adopted a logo that is Starfleet. The Starfleet logo basically is the Space Force logo. So they're leaning really far into this. Part of me is sort of like, and a NASA astronaut has joined, they're starting to recruit. Part of me is really skeptical that this will be kind of anything of meaning or significance from an altruistic, optimistic viewpoint. I think this is going to be a bloody disaster. But
oh yeah,
it was the first time that I saw that the thing was adopting. I don't know. It kind of looks cool, but also no, it doesn't. It's awful. And so I wonder how many years will it be. I guess what I don't like about this is now when this thing goes south and like they abolish the Space Force or they get rid of it, are they going to be able to use the logo again? Because I kind of would like to refurbish that in a more in a better optimistic way than just have that be the death throw of it. So anyways, that's my Star Trek news.
I forgot all about that. I did see that in the news this week as well. And yeah, we're definitely living in the mirror universe. This is not the prime universe. Well, on that note, I think let's take a very quick break and we will come back and talk about this week's episode of Star Trek Discovery. But before we do, if you're enjoying this podcast, please remember to like and subscribe, write us a positive review, and most importantly, tell your Trekkie friends about us. Now, we'll return very quickly with this week's episode. Welcome back. This week, we are discussing Star Trek Discovery, Season 3, Episode 10, Terra Firma, Part 2. It was directed by Chloe Domont, with a teleplay by Kalinda Vasquez, and written by Bo-Yeon Kim, Erica Lippold, and Alan McElroy. Ravi, can you tell us what happened in this episode?
Yes, I will. And be warned, from this point on, this episode will contain major spoilers. So, Emperor Philippa Georgiou seeks to change the fate of the Terran Empire. She brainwashes Michael into pledging her allegiance by torturing her for weeks in The Agonizer. Georgiou also reveals to Saru that the Kelpian biological change, the Vahari, is not lethal, but in fact a source of strength. Burnham and Detmer are tasked with hunting and assassinating all of Lorca's associates, including, last of all, Detmer herself. But Burnham has been toying with Georgiou and revolts. The battle ensues between the remaining rebels and the Georgiou loyalists, including the newly transformed Saru. Michael and Philippa kill each other in battle. All of a sudden, Georgiou awakens in the Prime Universe. The being known as Carl reveals himself to be a guardian of Forever, an ancient alien race that constructs doorways through space and time. Carl has been testing Georgiou. While he cannot solve her molecular destabilization, he offers to permanently return her to a time where she will no longer suffer its effects. Georgiou accepts the offer, bids Michael a fond farewell, and steps through the Guardian's doorway to parts and time unknown. And that wraps up this episode in just under a minute. Back to you, Shane.
I mean, what an episode. It was so fun. My hesitation at the beginning of last week's episode that I was really worried about where all this was heading, completely eliminated. It was a Star Trek Christmas Carol, and I was so right about so many of my predictions. I feel very vindicated. But I want to ask you, Kadeem, what did you think of this episode?
I also wrote in my note, Georgiou's Christmas Carol.
I mean, literally, they quote Dickens at the end. It was insane. What day is this?
Yeah, it was really good. I watched them. I watched both parts at the same time, just because it's a two-parter. I thought it was fantastic. You guys mentioned in the last episode, for continuity's sake, I have to mention the last episode. The costuming was insane. I can't decide if I like the Mirror Universe uniforms better than the Prime Universe Starfleet uniforms. I can't tell. I don't know which one I want to be for Halloween. But I love them both. And I just loved watching Michelle Yeoh act circles around everyone. It was really just something else.
Oh yeah, Michelle Yeoh. It's sad to see her go. Another thing I was right about. This is obviously the backdoor pilot, the introduction of the series, Section 31. So we will be getting so much more Michelle Yeoh in Star Trek. I couldn't be more excited about that. But this was a really touching, well done farewell to a character who, may have been antagonizing them the entire time, may not deserve the level of sympathy and regret that they all display at the end, but it was really fitting for the person who we've been watching for the last 3 years on this show. I really loved it. How about you, Ron? What did you think of this episode?
Yeah, I mean, it was so much fun. Just goes back to the old campy Star Trek, but the drama is just dialed up to 11. And I too am going to miss Georgiou on this show. Michelle Yeoh is excellent. I am still confused about why she is labeled as a guest star throughout this entire series, because she's had probably the fourth amount of lines out of everybody. I don't know if it was just her contract. She didn't want to pretend that she was, but I am looking forward to the Section 31 show. And I'm excited to see Michael's journey now that she has lost both of her matriarchal figures.
Yeah. One of the things that I guess kind of concerns me about the future of Discovery is that Georgiou was such a. I mean, I've already said she was an antagonistic presence on the ship, but she also was a foil and allowed the crew to make smarter decisions because of her brutality in a way. How are they going to do that going forward? I don't think Vance really fills that role. He's icky, but he doesn't really butt heads with the crew the same way Georgiou does.
So Kadeem probably wouldn't know, but in reference to losing Georgiou and the biting drama that she brings, we've already seen Star Trek kind of fumble this ball before in Voyager. A ship of half Starfleet, half Rebels got flung across the galaxy and had to work together, and they're all best friends by episode 7, and all of the drama is basically gone. And it was still one of my favorite shows, but there's something that this show has risen the bar in the drama of it all. So with Michelle Yeoh gone to her own show, I'm sure there will be a lot of drama there, but what's going to be the driver for us? Is it just going to be the green woman?
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm a little worried because I find, as much as I love this show and I just gushed about it a few minutes ago, I do think that it, other than the two-part premiere, the the first 2 episodes of the show. I find the beginning of season 2 and the beginning of season 3 to be a little bit slow, and it takes a little while to like pick up steam. And I'm afraid that the show is now going to slow down again without Georgiou there, because it gave a little bit of excitement while they're building up whatever dominoes are going to knock down at the end of, like, in the mid to end of the season. So I do worry about it. And there's so much Star Trek being produced now that they have to somehow shoot off all of these shows. So I do worry about what's going to happen to Discovery when we have to like throw all these characters out to do their own things. That being said, I will probably watch Section 31.
Oh, any excuse to get more Michelle Yeoh in my daily television diet, I'll take it. Michelle Yeoh, what an epic run on Discovery in general.
It was all worth it for that blinking gif.
Oh my god, yeah, 100%. There was so many callbacks to the first season in this episode. In particular, I mean, last week we talked about how Georgiou and Michael walking on the deserted planet was literally just a callback to the first episode. But there was another one that I found towards the end. Give me one moment while I just look through my notes here. Ravi, though, you go ahead.
But I just wanted to give credit to the writers for, when a character has reached their arc, and they, as bittersweet as it is, they've reached their arc. They weren't really serving a purpose. I could have made an argument why this sequence could have happened a couple episodes earlier. It's the right thing to do. Like, these characters, you can't, like, that's exactly what keeps the series fresh and interesting is, I mean, you don't have to literally kill everybody off, but, with Saru and Michael, we've seen now they've risen to a new level. They have a new arc. They have a new, something motivating them, driving them in season 3. Thank goodness, because they had reached that point in the previous 2 seasons. So this is the right thing to do. It's bittersweet because Michelle Yeoh is such a great actress and so amazing to have in the show, but it's the right thing to do. The series is going to be much better. And in terms of creating tension, I really hope that they do find a way, but they'll find a way. There's some, I mean,
they're TV writers. It's their job to find.
They're going to find some way, unless they're motivated not to. They could find some way to build in some pithy character who's going to blow us all back and make us awe and wonder. It's going to be amazing. I'm looking forward to the rest.
They're bringing back Harry Mudd.
we got a rebirth of Tig Notaro this episode. I forgot that she even like came with them to the future. So maybe they're just gonna like turn that character on its head, and she's gonna be, I don't know, something.
I was
Mirror
thinking about
Tig
that.
Notaro.
Oh, we didn't get a chance to see Mirror Tig, which I am upset about.
Yeah.
Can only imagine. Also, I was wondering, like, are they really going to find a way to make Tig a series regular? But then something towards the end of the episode made me think, no, there's no way she wants to do that. She's happy showing up like once a season, just having a quick funny line and then popping back out again.
She doesn't want to live in Toronto, which, fair enough.
Yeah, totally get that. The thing that was reminding me of season 1, I mean, little things peppered throughout, but when Mira Burnham comes back to Michelle Yeoh, like a broken person, but ready to start fresh, is such a mirror of Michael Burnham coming back to Starfleet with her head in her hands after her incarceration in the beginning of season 1. So I loved that we get to see the mirror of that. We get to see Georgiou coaching Saru, the mirror Saru, into accepting his true self, which is something that she kind of also did both in Prime Georgiou did and Mirror Georgiou did throughout the series. So there's a lot of callbacks to Discovery, and it really was a Christmas Carol. We got to see her past, her present, and her future, and she gets to go back to her present. It's just perfect. I loved it. It was such a Christmassy episode. Ravi,
I have to ask what everyone thinks, where this moment is where the two universe diverge. What moment in time is that? Contemporary where we are right now? Is that 2020? Is that the Section 31 moment? Is she going back to start off a new series there? what do you think? Where are these moments? Because that's a big moral, that's a moral narrative right there.
For me, this is tied into the Guardian device. So the Guardian of the Galaxy is this like time portal thing represented by
the
Carl.
Guardian on the Guardian of Forever. The Guardian of the Galaxy is.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yes, thank you. And we don't speak his name in this house. Why is the Guardian giving her so many chances? She gets to go back and fix or make a different choice in her previous life, and then he allows himself to be used again to re-put her somewhere else in the universe.
This is classic Star Trek hubris / God complex, where every major character is also like the most important person in the universe. So, it is very important for Michelle Yeoh's character to be given this second, third opportunity at life so that she can start a new franchise for the series, Ronnie.
Well, but I mean, I feel like he's destabilized things even more because instead of just Michael dying in the Prime universe, they're both dead, and we still have a regular Michael continuing on in our universe. So the diversion point is, it seems like Saru is going to be the new emperor over there.
Yeah, we're in a new mirror universe at this point, and are we going to get a Star Trek multiverse episode where all of these people are going to crash into each other somehow? That would be a mess.
Is that where I finally get my Dark Tilly storyline that I've wanted since the first season?
I thought you would have loved the cameos of her in this episode.
Oh, I was
not enough.
Like, that's one of the things where I'm saying the reward centers of my brain are just going off, because one of the first things that I said to Ronnie when the Mirror Universe storyline happened in the first season was like, I hate mirror universes. I can't wait till this is over. But I love the concept of Captain Killy, and that's what her name has been in my head ever since. And now, like, having her come back, I was like, oh, this is all that I've wanted, but now I just need more.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. I guess the last time we saw Captain Killy before this two-parter, it was actually just Tilly pretending to be her mirror self, right? So this is like the first viewing of who she actually is. I love Mary Wiseman so much.
There was a great article about her this week that is basically just celebrating what she's bringing to the show. She's brought this like very she's made this kind of throwaway character, this quirky, like dopey character, like so clutch and so important, and like in a way that like we all feel very protective of this character.
And she's very inspiring as well, not just someone to protect, but someone who protects others. Yeah, absolutely.
And unfortunately, the article also discusses a lot of the body shaming that she's experienced from the so-called fan base for showing up in a skin-tight suit with hips. Like, who knew? But she brings that strength onto the screen for us too. So I do appreciate it.
I kind of feel like she almost though outshines some of the other like actors. There's some moments where I kind of think, and I'm going to say it, like, I'm a big fan of Adira Tal for a lot of ways, but in some ways, like the writing around them is a little sort of flat, and I kind of think that Tilly's character really just shows you how you can infuse some character. It's entertainment at the end of the day, and Tilly shows just how any scene can just be that much more interesting with the right lines and the right scripting, and I think that that's maybe needed. And some of the bridge officers, we've talked about them, that they get you just get these little pans and flybys of them, and they're probably great people, I'm sure, on the bridge.
But I want more than a reaction shot.
Yeah. And I kind of feel like this is needed, maybe, as they need to spice up the relationship. The end scene in this episode was them just being like, yeah, Georgiou was great.
Yeah.
Also great. They're all, oh, she was a pain in the ass. Oh. And there was like no person. Tig Notaro was the only person who brought the personality into that. And I guess we're just sort of like, I hope we're not just marching towards, zombie extra Star Trek where just everybody's kind of a half extra, kind of a half main character. It's just, I hope they do more with that.
I feel like they're building them up a little bit. I definitely, the fan base has been saying for years that they want more, because we're used to the bridge crew being all of the main characters. This Star Trek has given us a bit of a more expansive group of who is in the main cast, and we just want that family feeling of the next generation. So I think that we hate on the writers for a lot of stuff, but I think they are trying to bring it into that more modern type of TV. One thing that they haven't done, just to loop it back to what Ravi was saying about Adira Tal, they don't know how to write the kid genius in the future. I think that Adira Tal suffers from a lot of the same like weird lines that Will Wheaton spoke when he was the whiz kid. So I'm hoping that the second to last episode is another Jonathan Frakes directed episode, and he's been behind all of the Adira Tal episodes so far. So I'm hoping that we get a chance to see a little bit more of that. I think we also have to remember, like, Adira is played by an actor who is also fairly new to the game, I think. Mary Wiseman went to Juilliard. So, there's a reason that she can reach through the screen and grab you.
What if Adira was like really, really, really like cocky, just like really cocky? The problem is they're so likable.
They were
anyway.
at the
like I want them as
beginning.
friends. I don't want them as entertainment. The entertainment would be as if Adira was just like, I'm better than you at this. That would be so much more interesting a direction to take, which wouldn't be the Will Wheaton way. And we're just missing some of that with some of these characters. Give me some grit. Give me some interesting things to latch onto. Which
it's so funny. I was thinking like the Mirror Universe actually kind of showed us a lot more of that in the characters that we've wanted than we've seen in the actual show. Like Owo getting such a huge part in the Mirror Universe and being like this really awesome fighter, and kind of like the smarminess of Mirror Detmer. Like, yeah, I think a lot of criticism says that the Mirror Universe is so one note, they're all just evil versions of themselves. But no, this episode kind of took that and we're like, no, they're actually still a little three-dimensional.
And I was scared of Mirror Paul Stamets. I was scared. Like, I was genuinely like, I do not want to be anywhere near this person. That was very well executed. And, R.I.P. Mirror Paul Stamets.
Yeah, he was very well executed, you might say. Dr. Colbert, too, in this universe, I love. Like, just this evil,
he might have the best Nazi doctor, of all of them.
And definitely the best costume. I want that red fascist uniform. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry.
I think, we also got to see Sonequa Martin Green flex her abilities again, even though she wasn't this was definitely a Michelle Yeoh episode. She played a great second lead in it. And we've talked a lot about how it's been nice to see this season the character of Michael not suffer so much, because she just suffered so much in the first two seasons. But holy hell, they were just saving it up for when they put her into the agonizer and turned it on, and we truly saw every angle of suffering. Like,
really like horrifying. And she did so well. And I've kind of remarked since the beginning, like, she's giving you a drama performance in a sci-fi show, which is really fun. And I really, really enjoy it because she's just like taking it to a whole other level. But her just playing like so evil the last episode and a half, until of course she has to get her Christmas Carol
moment,
her Christmas Carol arc on through torture, which was awful. But still really, really compelling to watch. But I mean, I wasn't the biggest fan of the evilness, but watching her transform, even though it did feel a little bit rushed, I will admit, was just great. It was great.
Oh yeah, you're right. It did feel a little rushed, but I think between both of these episodes, I really love that we get to see the full range of Sonequa Martin Green. Like, not only do we get all of her evil self, but we also get this wonderful bookend moment for the show. Her concern for Philippa, and then letting her go at the end. I mean, maybe I was the only one, but I definitely cried when she went through that doorway and like just instinctively gave the Vulcan salute. Ah, so beautiful.
You nerd.
I am such a damn nerd. I'm sorry. Ravi, do you have something you want to add?
Well, this is a little off topic, but a week ago, my sister and my partner, we watched, this is our bubble, and we watched A Muppet Christmas Carol. And one of my favorite parts of that that's been ringing through my head is the Waldorf and Statler,
Statler and Waldorf.
We're Marley and Marley. Whoa! And as we were just talking about, I was like, we're Georgiou and Georgiou. Whoa! I would love it if we somehow found a way to make that like a real thing. Is like
deep fake that video, someone.
Star Trek, Georgiou Dickens musical. It would just be so fun.
Patrick Stewart is rolling in his grave that they did not give this episode to him.
Is he
this
dead?
would have been
no, I'm making a joke, Ron.
Okay.
I'm not going to turn this into a joke about Star Trek Picard. I'm just going to cut it off. I won't be through this. I know I'm upset about it, but
oh my god, if they do that next season and rip off their own show, I just would die with happiness. I really love some of the central themes in this episode too, particularly like this reverberating effect of treating people with kindness, how just being exposed to supportive people and being loved for who you are instead of maybe who people want you to be, how that can literally change the course of other people's lives. And that is really, I mean, look, this is a drama, this is a narrative that we're making up for the drama, but I think there is truth to the power of positivity and the power of treating other people well. Part of the reason why we do this show the way we do it is so that we can highlight community groups who are doing these kinds of things in our city, in the world, in our lives. And so it's really nice to have that message shown in such a fun way, and it's such an underscore, and I kind of hope that maybe I'm the only one who sees this message in the show, because then it means that maybe I'm just projecting something that I want on it, but I have a feeling it was done with a purpose. Am I wrong here? Am I off base, Kadeem?
No, I totally agree with you. I absolutely loved watching this character transform. It did feel a little bit you guys talked about in the last episode how she was so mean in the beginning. It was like comically mean.
Yeah.
I guess to give the kind of Christmas Carol vibe. But watching her transform the last couple through the last few seasons into who she is now, ready for her own show, has been such a joy to watch. Because people in the Prime universe, and I love the part where she says, to me you're the mirror universe, but watching people in the Prime universe just kind of treat her well, and watching her through her hardness and her being a bit of an asshole, but watching her kind of soften through it and then get really soft and mushy when she goes back to the mirror universe, just wonderful, just wonderful to watch.
Yeah, I enjoyed how they did it. She's still true to there's still something that's fundamentally evil about her, for lack of a better word. Or more self-serving than the Prime Universe folks. But so she went back and killed everybody, but with kindness this time, which
she's evil with a heart of gold.
Yeah. The smoking bullet hole in Ariam's head at the end there is proof that she's really changed.
and she wanted to see that change in others too. She truly wanted to bring Michael along and find a future where they didn't have to kill each other. Michael was unable to her Michael was unable to make that change, which I think is really interesting, because our Michael has made a lot of changes, and it is unlike her mirror universe counterpart.
Yeah, I mean, I think in general, like, I don't think the mirror universe needs to absolutely be right. Like, she was trying to write it. I didn't think it needed to be completely right in the way that she wanted. I think it was totally, it's okay to kind of have that the evil side, but I think she made all the right changes within the power that she had, and it was just beautiful.
Yeah. We have talked a lot about this episode. There's a bunch more that I could say, like how I wish the episode had kind of just ended when she went through that portal. We didn't really need the whole Vance plot line tagged on at the end. We didn't really need the toast at the end, even though that is so classic Star
It's
Trek.
classic
Kadeem,
Star Trek. You weren't gonna
Kadeem,
get
they
out of
have
that.
done this in like every series and in at least every movie franchise. There's been a moment where we say goodbye to a friend. I mean, it was done well, but they kind of undercut themselves. They really could have just left with the reveal that he was the guardian of forever and she went through the doorway, and we don't know what happens from there. Also, the reveal that he is the guardian of forever. Can we roll back the tape and say and just play the part where I say last week that I really, really hope that this is the guardian of forever?
Yes, you get your accolades, Shane. You get your accolades.
Thank you. I was so happy about that. I literally screamed when it happened.
And I think this is a great moment to, like, Shane is beaming with joy about knowing this. Kadeem has the blankest face, listeners, because and I want to put it to you, Kadeem, as somebody who is like doesn't have these references. Like, what's the viewing experience like?
So I actually wrote in my notes to ask you guys, you folks, Guardian Forever canon or new person? 'Cause I have no idea, but
I don't even know.
I mean, I hope you have other questions for What the Trek, but I can go into this right now. The Guardian of Forever was in an episode called The City on the Edge of Forever, which is one of the most classic, the original series episodes. McCoy accidentally poisons himself, and he goes on, like, he is driven insane, and he beams down to this remote planet and jumps through this doorway, which is a portal through space and time. Kirk and Spock follow him and prevent McCoy from changing the past, which changes their future. It is a heartbreaking episode. It is a racist. I watched part of it this morning. It is a racist episode because of course it is. But it introduces this awesome time travel concept through the portal, which is the Guardian of Forever. And you know, I think it had appeared in one of the animated series episodes, but I've never watched more than a few episodes of the animated series myself. I haven't seen that one. And that was it. And then for it to come back in such a plot devicey way was really fun for those of us who, you know, have seen it all. And I think well done-ish. The way it's handled in this is not as canon as I think purists will want it to be. But if you look back at the episode from the 60s, I mean, it's literally just a cardboard cutout with some smoke pouring down. So, you know, they had to do something to make it more relevant. And I think they did it well. So that's the Guardian of Forever from the episode The City on the Edge of Forever.
Ravi, did you have something to add?
Well, I thought it would have been a slam dunk for this guy to be a part of the Q continuum. Is this like a non-thing? I was a little disappointed. I kind of want the Q continuum to be a thing, but it seems to have fizzled. Like, there's no references to the Q continuum outside of TNG and maybe Voyager. I think there was something in Voyager, but
there's one episode of DS9 and Cisco basically says, "Don't you ever return here," and then there's a bunch of episodes in Voyager
because that stopped Star Trek writers in the past.
Oh yeah.
I want to know generally, Kadeem, like, this is like just one of the like many things that are left out for us who have been following the franchise for a long time. You know, you've expressed like such a positive experience with watching it. Do you feel like there are things missing, or is it like a complete experience even without all the background info?
Oh, I mean, it is a complete experience, and I think that the concept of the guardian of time and space is like a thing that we see in like sci-fi and stuff. So I'm like comfortable with that concept. But as a show, I think that, I have very little context for Star Trek, so the show does a really, really good job of introducing me to things. I would say the only thing that I didn't really care about was like the Klingon Wars in season one. But everything
A
else
lot of people didn't.
did a really good job of like pulling me in, making me feel like I cared about these characters and what was happening to them. So I say is a complete experience. I don't know who of the listeners would just be listening to this who weren't fans of Star Trek, but I give this a ringing endorsement. Great show.
Oh, I love it. I think with that, let's take a little break and we will return with our commitment to reconciliation. Every week, we pick a different organization that makes a positive impact in their community, and we make a donation to them as part of our commitment to reconciliation. Last week, we supported Apple Grove Community Complex here in Toronto. Ron, who are we focusing on today?
This week, we are going to spotlight Across Boundaries. They provide a dynamic range of mental health support services and work within an anti-racism, anti-Black racism, and anti-oppression framework. They are rooted in up-to-date research, consistently active community engagement. Their progressive strategies are implemented by their capable staff who are committed to improving the quality of mental health and addiction care for racialized people. You can join us by donating directly to them at www.acrossboundaries.ca/donate. We will put the link in the show notes. Please engage with this cause and donate what you can to help in the fight for peace, justice, and equity.
That is awesome. Thank you so much, Ron. Now, each week we ask our guests one question and one question alone. What the Trek? What to you, Kadeem, as a fairly casual viewer, made absolutely no sense, was morally questionable, or otherwise downright confusing about this episode or this series or what the hell, this whole damn franchise? Kadeem, what the Trek?
I feel like this whole episode has been like me reviewing the entire show, which I feel bad about. But I have a couple of things. I'm going to start with one as a discussion point for all of us, which I'm sure you talked about before in past episodes. And I know, Ronnie, you hate, when we bury our gays in TV. I have to say, maybe it's because I was binging. I wasn't that upset with when Wilson Cruz's character died in the first season, because as a new watcher, I just felt like the first two episodes great. I loved being introduced to everyone, like to Michael and Georgiou in such a nice way. And then we were just dropped into Discovery, and it was like, here are all these people that you now have to care about as well. So I felt like, it was okay to thin the herd a little bit. And he just felt the most disposable. I'm sorry. However, I'm very upset with season 2, how they brought him back, because taking your gay, killing him, and then putting him into basically purgatory for like a season, it's too much gay torture porn for me.
For me.
But I have to give props to Wilson Cruz, who is now back and really giving us, at what that character would be going through after that and what that character's personality would be like after that, because I do feel like there's been a change and it's been really a joy watching him come back. However, it just bothers me that we threw our gay character into purgatory, essentially. And now, an issue that I have with season 3 in the treatment of gay characters as well, or LGBT characters, is they're all kind of thrown into a corner. They only are in scenes together and don't really interact with a lot of other people. And I'm not a fan of that. So,
I think I am completely there with your criticisms. I actually, it is really nice to hear that you weren't negatively impacted by the murder of Wilson Cruz's character in the first season, because it was a really we were watching it in a bar full of gay people, and the temperature dropped like 30 degrees instantly.
I remember that night, Ronnie. We were angry.
and it's because like I think that it's a different experience because like we've been with the franchise and waiting for this for so long, and they promised us, you know, that we were going to be included and visible. And then one of the
and not just that, but in a like showing two queer people in a happy relationship, and not just two queer people, but like a mixed race couple. Yeah, they were trying to like do everything with these characters, and then they ripped that from us.
But I'm glad that for the new viewer, the barrier case trope is not as, you know, wasn't as off-putting. Because you're worried that you're trying to bring in these people into the fold. You know, I love the franchise. I love talking about it with people, and you know, a lot of our guests have been telling us, you know, what kept them out of the franchise. It's just another barrier to throw up there. I've also noticed that like Tig Notaro and Paul Stamets only talk to each other. Adira Tall and Paul Stamets only talk to each other. Culber and Paul Stamets only talk to each other. Like, you know, the white gay is like the
focal point
of all of these relationships.
And he's the worst. Still,
absolutely. I mean, now that Ash Tyler is gone, who is my least favorite character, I've put all of my hate energy onto Stamets because I think he's a dick.
Oh my god, I have a note that even in this episode, Book uses like the Emerald Chain technology to help them solve like the crisis that they're actually working on, which is finding this ship. And Stamets can't even say fucking thank you to the guy. Such an asshole. Sorry, go on.
But it's also that their interactions, and I don't know if this is like their interactions have kind of hit this one note thing where they're just transmitting information, and like how many pithy sort of quippy engineering scenes can you have where they're the puzzle solving before you actually have to get on to like, hey, these are characters interacting. So that's maybe another flaw here, is that maybe they're going off to a corner, but also they're just sort of transmitting engineering information and then going immediately into reflection on each other's identities and gender, and then going like there's not very much other life stuff happening. It's just sort of we're either discussing our identity or solving engineering problems, and there's no space for anything else.
When you put it like that, Robbie, it sounds awful.
I mean, I want to give the writers a little bit of space in that, you know, they're doing something for this franchise that hasn't been done before. Yeah. It's disappointing that they are relying on so many, you know, like I want them to be better than some of the choices that they've made. But, you know, are you going to get it perfect the first shot out of the gate? No. You know, I think it's something one of our previous guests, Emily, said about, you know, the identity of Adira Tall and the reveal and how it was handled. You know, like there was a lot of, you can level a lot of very specific criticism at all of the choices that they made. But overall, the representation was still positive. And while we always feel like it could be better, it is at least better than it was. So it is moving along. Yeah,
just being visible is still important, and that shouldn't be the bar that has been set, but it is. And you know, at least they're creating compelling narratives in some ways for these characters. And you know, aside from Stamets, we're rooting for them all. So,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Did you have any other what the Trek moments this episode, Kadeem?
I just have one more thing.
Yes, go, please.
This is so something that I have issue with in a lot of sci-fi, spy-fi, kind of action-y TV is that these characters face death, stare death in the face every day, are constantly told, you know, 5% chance of surviving this, and then they survive, and this happens consistently over seasons and seasons, and we never see them deal with it. And I was so happy to that we had the episode where they kind of dealt with the PTSD, the kind of Thanksgiving episode. It was kind of strange that like a very smart computer had to be like, hey, your crew has PTSD. But I really liked it. And it gave Detmer more to do, which I enjoyed as well, because I want to know more about the bridge crew. But I do think that, it's these people's jobs to be part of Starfleet. Like it's their job. They but they're not asked to really stare death in the face every day. And I don't think that every single person on Discovery technically agrees to do these dangerous things all the time. And that is why I think that people at a certain level of Starfleet and below should unionize.
Unionize Starfleet, hashtag.
Yes.
That's just how I feel, because I feel like if I were just a random engineer, not really on the bridge, I maybe wouldn't have agreed to like jump 900 years into the future, but everyone else is doing it, and so I kind of feel pressure to do it. But all these people are like above me in command, so I kind of just have to do it. They didn't show enough characters agreeing to join Michael in the future. Like, these are all things that I think about.
I actually was surprised this season that in episode 1, when the entire crew went, I actually did not pick up on that in the finale of season 2. It was the entire crew agreeing. I thought it was just the bridge crew and her friends.
I thought that in the second season finale, they gave everyone the like they said, we're doing this, so if you want to stay in this time, get over to the Enterprise. And I feel like their crew went down to, I think, 88 or something from the 100 or so that there was, which, means maybe some people left, but that still means that the vast majority of them chose to follow Michael Burnham, who has, put their lives in danger countless times.
So many times.
They're abandoning their families, their friends for like 3 or 4 people who we care about. It was a ballsy decision to make that giant leap forward, and only Georgiou was given the chance to return home, essentially, and only today in this episode.
Yeah, I just think it's a lot to ask of people, and I always think about like the collateral damage. Like, who are the random people who maybe work like in the bay where they
Let me tell you about a whole new series called Lower Decks, which is about the people who are in the lower echelons of the structure there.
I'm very curious, and I just think it's a little too far. Like, it's too much of a leap for me. I'm like, as a worker,
they've gone too far.
I'm like, if this was my job, it would be really hard for me to just say, yeah, I'm down for my work to just jump 900 years in the future or leave my family behind. Basically, I'm dead in that timeline. They told everyone that they all died. And I think about it every episode, and I don't feel like the PTSD storyline was wrapped. I hope it comes back in some way, and they are giving Detmer a lot more to do, and they gave us Mira Detmer, so I feel like they're building up to something with her. But that's my I'm done ranting. That's my thing.
Ravi?
Well, I think that my reflection on this season, it addresses a little bit of what we talked about, is the A plots of this season have been fairly good. This season has really sucked and really needed really good B plots. And those are where you have a little more character development other than just them having a scene transacting information, and where you have plot points that are along the way. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's what's missing this season, is a good set of B plots where you get a little bit more character depth. You get a little bit more of what's going on in the whole arc of the season. This one was pretty expository. At the end, they were just like, oh yeah, by the way, some stuff is also happening, which I guess you have the mirror universe, you can't do it, doesn't fit in. But they've been kind of doing that in other episodes other than this one. It's just kind of like, oh, here at the end, by the way, they found this message, this beacon. Okay, bye.
Well, they needed to spend 2 entire episodes on a completely different group of people that, they've chosen to do that to launch Michelle Yeoh's show, which is great. But it does mean that we missed out on 2 episodes of like maybe getting another line out of Reese or Bryce, or like we're all dying for an episode to be centered around Oo. Like, come on, right? Like,
I think this is as close as we're going to get.
Yeah, which is disappointing. Like, as much as I like Mirror Oo and the actor killed it, I want to know
Joanne Owosakun.
Yeah. But Ravi, what do you think? Can Starfleet unionize? Is it possible?
Okay, so here's the deal. The conversation, a previous episode was called Defund Starfleet. And I want to raise a concern that many people believe that police in our time should not be unionized because it's not same thing. So if we're going to defund Starfleet and unionize Starfleet at the same time. We have some contradicting, at odds conversations here that we need to unpack a little further. Is Starfleet a quasi para policing body that needs to be considered differently from regular work? Or so which one is it, folks? Are we trying to defund or unionize? Because many would say that those are at odds with each other.
Well, they could be like the police union, and we all love police unions.
There you go.
Wait. There isn't a police union though, right? It's like an association that pretends to be a union. Anyway, that's
exactly right.
I don't know. I think this is like that. That's a great and difficult question, Robbie. Like, I want to see my my Starfleet characters live their safest, happiest lives. But they also carry guns everywhere. So, is there a way to do that? Like, I suppose the conceit of Starfleet is that the people on the lower decks have signed up to die. Like they have decided to dedicate their entire career to that risk that is associated with being on the edge of exploration.
Yeah.
Oof.
It's a hard one. It's a hard one, and I get it, but I don't know, there's just something that doesn't sit right with me. When I think about how many Starfleet folks have died in random episodes because the ship gets damaged in a certain place, and they just kind of I'm shrugging for everyone.
They're not having like a memorial for every single character lost in every episode. Otherwise, the show would be a very dark, different kind of show.
We need a good hashtag, which is just like give bridge crew lines, like, or give bridge crews a soul, something like that. That would be also a good thing to achieve for their sake.
I mean, there's things that we need to talk about before we end, but I feel like now is a great point to bring up that our guest from last week, Stephanie, we asked her to record her thoughts on this episode because we thought it was so unfair that she only got to comment on part 1 of a 2-parter, and because you can't really judge a 2-part episode on the first half, we needed her opinion. So, Ravi, is it possible that we can plug in a little video that Stephanie sent to us right here?
Hi Shane, hi Ron, hi Ravi, hi Kadeem, special guest. This is Stephanie, just checking in after watching part 2 of Terra Firma. And just wanted to say, okay, 2 lines that stood out for me from this episode. Can Michael come with me? And you are my Philippa. Hello, cheese. Okay, that's it for me.
Oh, thank you so much, Stephanie. That was so amazing. I'm so glad that you actually followed through and sent us that video. That was awesome.
I totally agree with Stephanie. That was high cheese.
It was high cheese, and Shane, I didn't want to like yuck your yum when you were talking about how much you liked that scene, but I really didn't buy it. She was not my Philippa. I still have the OG Philippa as my main squeeze. I don't know. I'm glad that they like each other that much, that they came that far. I don't know if I was
hashtag not my Philippa.
Okay, that's the title for the episode. Wow. I mean, okay, I get it. I understand it. I think for me, I was mourning the loss of Michelle Yeoh and what she brought this show. And honestly, I feel like that scene was more like Michelle Yeoh and Sonequa Martin Green talking to each other than it necessarily was the characters talking to each other.
Sure.
I think this whole episode, this whole 2-parter was just a nice, treat for Michelle Yeoh to give her a bit of meat before, going away. I just thank you, Stephanie. Thank you so much. What else did we miss talking about this episode? I feel like I took so many notes, and there's so little that we talked about. We didn't even mention that Ariam and Ariam appeared on the screen together. That is to say that the original Ariam and Lieutenant Nilsson, who portrayed Ariam so well that they brought her in as a new character. I thought that was really fun. Ariam still dies in the Mirror Universe in a brutal way. I think I already mentioned the smoking bullet hole in her head at the end of the episode. That whole end of the mirror timeline thing was so dark in general. I was like, what am I watching?
Yeah.
This is not Star Trek. Loved it. It was so good. Ravi, I'm going to go down the line. What did I miss?
We just need to retrace our steps a little bit, because it was a little confusing when I first researched this a few episodes ago. Is that Ariam, in Steph's word, the character that looks like an electric car, was first played by Hannah Cheesman, actress Hannah Cheesman, and then was replaced with the actress, I'm getting this wrong already. So in fact, I think it was that Ariam was played by Sarah Middich.
Yes.
And then was replaced by Hannah Cheesman at the end of the season 2, I believe. So that
Sarah
Middich could come back as Lieutenant Nilsson, who suddenly started getting all these pan shots with like extra drama, like we had knew anything about her. And
Kadeem is shaking his head for the viewers.
It's very confusing. And so this was the first time, like Pokeroo, that the two actors were on the same show in the same, full face, not behind any makeup or anything like that. And it was just a little bit strange. And we still don't know anything about Nilsson really with the bridge cruise,
or even really frankly Ariam. I mean, in this episode in particular, they're just like two white women that very interchangeable, clearly so much so in fact that one was hired to replace the other. So sorry white women, I'm the product of a white woman, so I love you, but
I want to give another shout out to poor Rekha Sharma, who is the actor who plays Lieutenant Landry. She has been murdered on this show so many times. We I think it's like 3 or 4 times at this point, and it's too bad because she was one of the ones that I was so excited to see. I loved her in Battlestar Galactica, and I was excited to see more from her. And I just every time they kill her, I love that they keep bringing her back, but every time they kill her, it just makes me sad.
They're giving her the Sean Bean treatment, but just on the same show over and over.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh my God, you killed Rekha Sharma, you bastards!
Truly. Give her, I want just I'll have a flashback episode where she hangs out and just gives some totally underdeveloped character. Not fair to Rekha Sharma at all.
Agreed. Always, and so compelling as always on the screen. I can understand why they brought her back for the 2 scenes that she's in this episode. Worth it. Kadeem, was there anything that we missed that you didn't get to talk about?
I don't think so. My only, I'm looking at my notes just on things that I was wondering about as the episode is going on, and all I have is, why no torture for Detmer? Okay, she dies.
Love it.
The scene with the metal badges was excellent. Throwing out all of those badges.
So
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, really loved that. There were so many great lines in this episode, from I will kill all of you to you can trust me again, which, hat tip to Maddie, never trust anyone who says you can trust me again.
That was great acting to make it so unbelievable. That was one of the most unbelievable lines, but of course that's the point. But I was just no, we can't trust you at all. Also,
Michelle Yeoh, when that happens, she just just a little downward flick of her eye and looks back, and you're like, oh yeah, no, she doesn't believe you at all. It was so brilliant. Oh my God, we've really lost a legend in this episode, but we've gained a new Star Trek series. Folks, that we've reached the end. Kadeem, do you want people to find you on social media?
I mean, you can, but I'm not very exciting. I looked at my Twitter today. I haven't tweeted in probably a year. But yes, you can find me at CadG on Twitter and at KOGriff on Instagram. My Instagram is also not that exciting because there's nothing going on in my life this year. In my tiny apartment all day.
Well, I mean, we've got another few months of not doing anything in our own apartments, but, I love connecting with you like this, Kadeem, at the very least. It's been so much fun talking to you. Thank you so much for being here. As always, I am at Shane Came Back. Ravi is at Ravi Yi Joshi. Ron is at Ron Sly. And you can follow all of us collectively on Twitter at Worse Than Borg or at Worse Than the Borg on Instagram. You can email us at worsethantheborg@gmail.com. And please remember to like, subscribe, and rate us 5 stars. As always, thank you so much for listening to Worse Than the Borg. You have been assimilated into our collective, but resistance is never futile. Thank you, folks. Good night.